Good morning, guys. So, as all you all know, today we have a seminar about cloning, and to be more specific, human reproductive cloning. So, have you prepared for this seminar?
Yes, sir. I've done plenty of research in the past week. At first, I didn't have any clue about this topic, so I watched replicas.
Yeah, that movie inspires me a lot for this topic.
So, what have you found?
Tons of useful information. In terms of history, cloning became a highly discussed topic when scientists successfully cloned a sheep called Dolly in 1996.
Yes. Well, since then, many types of cloning were discovered, in which three main types are gene cloning, therapeutic cloning, and human reproductive cloning. While the first two types could be proven to be major breakthroughs in the biomedical field, opinions are divided when it comes to practicing human reproductive cloning. But before the seminar starts, I would like to firstly talk about the term human reproductive cloning so that everyone is clear about the definition. According to the President's Council of Bioethics, a human reproductive clone could be defined as a genetic clear copy of a person who is already living or has already lived. It is modified as a new person from the genetic features of an original human. So, are we all on the same page about this?
Yes!
Okay, so before this seminar starts, I created a poll about whether you guys support this practice or not. And most of you guys answered no. And because the majority of the class said that we should ban this practice, so the obvious question is, why?
So, one major disadvantage of the Reproductive Cloning Act would be ethical concerns. First of all, clones, the product of human cloning, would lack senses of identity. Research by two scientists, Tarek and Vlad in 2013, shows that the clones produced through this method are likely to have difficulty in gaining conscious knowledge of themselves, shaping their own opinions and decisions. Due to this shortcoming in cloning, clones could be controlled and exploited for personal purposes. They would be manipulated and act under the control of others.
Another ethical problem regarding clones would be the unfair treatment they receive. In particular, they would be considered products in the market. In 2002, the President's Council on Bioethics highlights that the genetic features of clones could be modified to suit the purposes. Therefore, clones without attractive features might be ill-treated and excluded from the society.
In 2030, the Terrac Villas point out some clones could also be produced for the only purpose of creating additional organs to meet personal demands. Once they have been used, they could no longer be needed.
Yes, they are quite valid points. So, what about other aspects?
Well, I believe it is also about legal aspects. Human cloning also raises concerns about human rights for its contradiction to international laws and regional conventions. Since it was clearly stated in Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948, by the United Nations, everyone has the right to live, liberty, and the security of a person. The human rights law unequivocally proclaimed unlawfulness when anyone violates. Clones have to face the fear of psychological health, which is the lack of inherent quality, to be a unique identity, because clones can be stripped away to live for others, in accordance with a particular kind of life.
Well, I couldn't agree more. According to the current existing Congenital Disabilities or Civil Liability Act 1976 of the UK, it is virtually difficult to deal with the role of the parent's obligations in the event that a child with disability due to negligence occurs, especially the matter of clones when finding whose parents are.
Additionally, from what I have read and perceived from Universal Declaration of Human Rights, 1948 of the United Nations, human cloning violates one's freedom from slavery and the slave trade in any forms. A huge number of clones produced by reproductive method might transform into new types of slave for humans. Cloning for child reproduction will involve transactions with customers that can lead to illegal human trafficking and international transactions.
Quite persuasive. Can you provide more to explain why we should oppose this practice? any other aspects that we would like to take into consideration?
Yes, sir. Human reproductive cloning should also be prohibited due to a number of scientific drawbacks. First and foremost, this has been proven to be too hazardous for human beings. Mayer, 2001, claims that the technique of human cloning is ineffective, only a 1% success rate in mammals, and unpredictable, and results in high percentage of fetal deaths. In 2002, Wiseman also suggests that the percentage of successful attempts are diminutive, and this may even pose a serious threat to the woman bearing the fetus as well as the egg donors.
The second disadvantage lies in the fact that the process of human reproductive cloning may produce in abnormal human development. Mayer indicates that the majority of cloned embryos experience anomalous development and might produce handicapped human beings. Moreover, in 2016, researchers say that nearly all attempts at human cloning may cause internal problems, such as biological disorders or premature aging.
Last but not least, in 2017, in devoted paper, it refers to American Medical Association states that human reproductive cloning could lead to the decrease in human genetic variation. According to Mayer, in 2001, he indicates that this consequence of human cloning could severely accelerate the likelihood of being annihilated by an uncommon virus or a pathogen and may increase the possibility of human extinction.
So D, you're the only person who thinks that we should support this practice. So what do you think about your friend's findings?
Well, not gonna lie, these are some pretty convincing facts. However, I know that human reproductive cloning could be used to resurrect deceased family members. As a matter of fact, in 2001, Talbot states that numerous cases had been reported of bereaved parents willing to risk anything only to retrieve their children from the hands of the Grim Reaper by cloning regardless of the outcome. So, I believe that in an effort to meet someone we love again, although he or she passed away, human reproductive cloning could be useful.
A possible explanation is due to the traumatizing effect of losing a loved one, which ultimately makes these grieving individuals resort to human cloning.
You are absolutely right. Talbot further states that it occurred to me that it doesn't really matter in the end that a perfect replacement human can never be created. What matters is that some people think it can. So I believe that in an effort to meet our beloved one again, people wouldn't care too much about whether the clone is perfect, and in this case, human reproductive cloning would do the work.
Well, I beg to differ. According to Aya in 2015, human reproductive cloning is doomed to fail since what it clones are the genes, not the individual. Furthermore, no one is capable of replicating what the deceased has undergone during their lifetime, especially the sweet memories with their family.
Also, McIntosh in 2013 indicates that humans born as a result of cloning would be unique individuals possessing their own intellects, personalities, qualities, and beliefs. So, it would be really rational to perform posthumous cloning.
So guys, before ending this seminar, I would like to recapitulate. Potential dangers exist to demand for a human reproductive cloning prohibition with regard to ethical, legal, and scientific aspects. Although human reproductive cloning could create desirable scenarios for some people, as Dee has just mentioned, it is clear that this practice have major flaws that cannot be ignored. So it is best that we focus on gene cloning and therapeutic cloning and develop more medical treatments using these methods. With regard to human reproductive cloning, I think that we should consider it to be only something fictional and should not make it into a reality. So, any other questions?